I just discovered my camera does funny things. It allows me to zoom in while filming the video, but not to zoom out. Alright, there's cleaned up all the way around. And right there, it missed right through here, which is what I was seeing when I was doing my indicating on the outside. And then here it starts cleaning it back up. So I'm pretty sure my ability to line this back up the way they had it lined up is not there, but for what we're making here, it's not a big deal. I will go ahead and take a few more passes on this, get that down to clean metal. And we've got clean metal on the outside right here where our cutter edge is going to be. Then we'll come back on the inside and bore this out. Okay, after thinking about this a little bit more and remembering that I'm going to have a shaft come down through the inside for my inner cutter, I realized I should probably actually go off the bore that I already have of this coupling to line everything up. And the only way I had to be able to do that is my coaxial indicator. Now it is designed to be in a chuck that spins, so this part right here would spin around, and it seems to work best that way. But in this way, I've lined it up with all four sides, spun it around like the side I have right there. I don't know how well that shows up, but that's about 15.5 thou. This reads half thousandths. Then I'll rotate it quarter of a turn, and then I come over here and simulate that it's turning, and that puts me right at 15.5. Give another turn, that brings me back to 15.5. Then I give her another quarter turn, come over here and spin this to simulate that it's turning. 15 and just over half. Remember, those are half a thousandth indications right there. I don't know how well they're showing. That's right at 15.5. So I did that for all 4 points out here at this depth. Then I ran it in 1 inch, and at 1 inch I was getting 16 readings of 16 all the way around. So it tells me that my bore is true to where I want to go. I had to make a few adjustments, but it also tells me there's a taper of about a half a thousandth over the course of 1 inch in there. And I do know that this was a interference fit for this coupling and the shaft that it was on. We had to, when actually we were installed this on a pump, we actually had to heat it up to get the slide on, and once it cooled off, it was a booger to get off. We actually tore parts of the shaft off where it pulled chunks out of the shaft, and we had to use a hydraulic press to get it off. But anyhow, needless to say, this coupling was no longer good to us at work, so I was able to bring it home. And got my bore indicated now where my cutter is going to come down through. So now I'll come back and I'll face this off again, and then I'll face off the front right here, and everything will be run off the bore. Alright, I got the outside trued up with the bore, and I got this faced off again, so that's nice and true. That stays fairly true. Now I'm going to work on trying to bore this out, and I still haven't got my overall dimension, but I'll get that here in a little while. What I'm going to try to do, I got it lined up concentric right now, so that's the way I want to keep it without having to move over to the mill and redo everything. So I'm going to try to use this cutter right here, and I got enough clearance I can move in a couple of thousandths and then move it this way a couple of thousandths, and I do have my carriage locked down so that doesn't move. So the only thing I got then is I've got my cross feed where I can use that to come in and out, and then of course I've got my compound feed where I can use for my depth going in. So we're going to try it and we'll see how this turns out. Let's see what kind of view you get from up here. not very good. Okay, I got you a view from behind the lathe now. Hopefully that'll work out alright for you. So we'll get her spinning up and see what we can do. Depth first. See how well that does for us. Fairly decent lathe, but I do wish it had a power cross feed, which it does not. Take time to sharpen my bit a little while ago. It was getting a little dull, starting to shatter a little bit. And I've learned, as you know in previous videos, it starts to chatter, sharpen it, and it really helps a lot. Come out to about where I'm at, then we'll take a measurement just for reference. Close I can get in there. Maybe I can get my calipers across there. Yeah, it's in the way. Everything's in the way. right there, just a rough guess, 3 80/1000ths. And as you can see, I guess you can see that, I have plenty to go. Measure this right here out again. 3,890. I'm going to write that number down. Keep my scratch piece of paper over here, or pad. Yeah, if I can find stuff. 3,890. 3.890 is what I want to shoot for. I'm also going to probably reposition my bit so that this edge right here is actually angled back a little bit more. So I'm cutting with the leading edge out there. That way when I get into depth I can pull out and do a nice clean cut out there, while at the same time not crowding the back side over here, leaving plenty of clearance. So I'll get back with you when we get a little closer. Okay, I finally got down to the depth I wanted of 3/8 of an inch, and now I'm starting to get the diameter out here that I want, so I'm making cuts on the inside right there. I made quite a few cuts, and now it's time for me to take a measurement, see where I'm at. There are more accurate ways to measure this, but this is just close enough for what we're doing. We're shooting for 3.890. Right now we're at 3.843. 3.843. So I got about 47 thousandths left to go. So I'll make a few more passes in here. Taking about 4 thousandths at a time off of one side, which gives me 8 total. Feed it in by hand. I don't have a ventilation system, so I try not to use any more cutting oil than what I have to. But I do find it cuts a little better. My bit lasts a little longer if I use just a touch of it. I'm using high-speed steel for this. Some ordered off eBay, I think it was, and it might be made in China or someplace. I've been reading up a little bit more. Apparently there's better grades of them. I've been practicing with grinding my own bits, and I'm getting what I feel pretty good with it, especially with a bench grinder. Hopefully soon I'll be getting a belt sander where I can get straight cuts instead of curved cuts on them. And then I'll be getting better grade with high-speed steel. It might take a little longer to cut, but I think it'll last a little longer. Using my compound feed to feed it in, and I've got my dial set at 0 when it hits the back. Once I get close, I just watch my dial, bring it to 0, start backing her out. Another 4,000, take another cut. I can usually tell if my bit starts getting a little dull. I start hearing a little chatter in there, a little rub or grind. I have to pull it out. I threw it on a hone it back down where it's supposed to be, because I got it pretty close. It just takes a little touch up. set my bit back up, get my 0 re-registered. That's not too big a deal, it's just a little pain. Also notice on this lathe that they're using metric threads for the lead feet, for the lead screws, and for feeds. And they're close to what the standard would be for each increment being 1/1000th of an inch, but they're a little off, just ever so slightly. You probably won't notice it in 4/1000ths, but by the time you count on this dial to move 50/1000ths, there is a difference. So that's why I only do a couple, get close, then take a few measurements. I always like to measure a lot, cut a little. I find I make fewer mistakes that way. Final measurement I'm going to do, of course, with it stopped, I'll take the actual wheel that I took off of the tail of the reverse disc and see if it'll fit right in there. That's what I'm shooting for. And of course that's, you know, a couple thousandths under, a couple thousandths over. I'd rather go a little over, make it a little larger. It's not that big a deal. Cut right here should move me out about 24,000 from my previous measurement. But there again, like I said, the difference with the feed screws probably going to be a little bit off from there. I'm going to take another measurement and see just how much it did move. That down, and that brought us up to 68. Actually, put it there. Okay, it brought us out 25 thousandths, and according to my dial here, it should have been 24 thousandths. So that's why I'm saying there's a slight difference, but not a whole lot. But when you're trying to rely on this dial for your final measurement, you're going to get into trouble. So keep that in mind. Let me make a few passes off camera and we'll get you back in here.